Chrissy asked Jim to marry her on national television, and he accepted. But years passed and Jim Chrissy stayed, but the enmity between them intensified over time. Then there's Jim, who has never been loyal. Let's be honest, Jim has been involved in more infidelity rumors than we. Also include late-night hangouts with DMS's shady female buddies at the studio, and those mysterious business vacations that coincided with Instagram when this adultery scandal, when it originally surfaced on blogs. Most people assumed it was another Jim Jones case, but this time Chrissy stayed by Jim's side despite all of the financial problems, suspicions of adultery, and Jim's supposed financial hardships. According to sources close to the situation, Chrissy was the one who was sneaking this time, not Jim, whom she had been seeing another man for months, and the evidence is incredibly solid. It all began around 3 months ago when Chrissy was photographed. Visiting a luxury hotel in Miami without Jai people was strange. But let's face it, Chrissy's solo excursions aren't all that rare. But as the images began to circulate, it was reported that Chrissy was spotted alongside a pool with many sources have described a man sitting beside Hearn, laughing, drinking, and enjoying himself. Verified that Chrissy was not only hanging out with this man, but they were touching hands and drinking drinks. Reportedly disappearing into a secluded spot, many initially thought it would just be an innocent hangout. But then the A's real receipts began to arrive. You had no idea Chrissy and this unknown man were reportedly trading, flirty texting for weeks. We're talking about emojis late at night, and I missed the cabana. According to insiders, the screenshots were then leaked, and the messages are scandalous. Images leave nothing to the imagination, but things get worse when Jim realizes, oh honey. It appears that someone in Jim's circle obtained and sent the screenshots. Jim was apparently seated at home when the messages arrived, and as soon as he noticed them, he picked up the phone and began contacting Chrissy nonstop. When she didn't answer, Jim went straight to Miami to face her. Yes, you read that correctly. Jim boarded a plane and supposedly knocked on the door of the hotel where Chrissy was staying. When Chrissy opened it, let's take a moment to recognize how ludicrous this circumstance is. Jim has already been discovered lurking countless times, but Chrissy has always forgiven him. Now that Chrissy has, it's prepared to wreck the entire relationship. But it becomes more messier because when Chrissy opened the door, and Jim not only saw her sitting by her cell, but also the man she had been spotted with. According to sources, Jim approached Chrissy and the unnamed man, informing you that things almost got Jim allegedly began berating Chrissy, calling her a cheater. As a result, security was called. Chrissy, a liar, did not deny it, and other sources validated it. She informed Jim, "You did it to me for years now, you know how it feels." Jim was not prepared for that level of disdain, according to insiders. Jim attempted to pursue the Chrissy stood there appearing nonchalant, while security intervened before things turned violent. I don't know about you, but this problem has reached a whole new level. Who is this mysterious man? According to sources, this individual is a member of Jim's close circle. Yeah, the man Chrissy was seen with is allegedly one of Jim's business colleagues, because if this man is related to Jim's business, and this might become more than just a romance scandal, but a significant legal issue. Jim O is already communicating with his lawyers, according to insiders, wishes to break his association with this business partner immediately, even if it means losing money. However, this is the bit that will blow your mind. It turns out that Chrissy and this man were spotted together before. No, there are images of them hanging together that were shot months ago. And from what I've heard, Moses has those photos. Maisie will unveil the largest scandal in the history of love and hip-hop, according to what I understand. So stay tuned, because in part 2, we'll find the name of this mysterious man and what he and Chrissy share been concealing, and how Jim is scheming retribution. And believe me, you are not prepared for what is going to happen. Right, let's move on to the messy part, because this story is more than just a cheating scandal. It's becoming Jim Jones is facing a massive public scandal, and the internet is shaming him for filth. I had just confronted Chrissy and her mystery boyfriend at the Miami hotel, and things quickly went out of control. And according to multiple reports, it nearly went violent. Jim lost it when he saw Chrissy standing, Security had to intervene and forcibly separate Jim and the man he thought he was friends with, allegedly said, "You're dead to me," at the man, Chrissy, but Chrissy merely stood. Jim approached the man with her arms crossed, and when he refused to back down, it nearly went down in the internet was ablaze with rumors regarding the identity of the mystery man when Jim was brought out of the motel. And when the truth was disclosed, it was worse than anyone could have anticipated. It turns out that the man Chrissy was discovered with is none other than Freddie G, Jim's long-standing business colleague and one of his closest friends. Freddie isn't just any old guy. He's been a part of Jim's inner circle for years and has been seen at Jim's home. Chrissy betrayed Jim not only on family trips but also at the studio, man who had direct access to their business and their money, which is where things get dangerous. The worst part is, Freddie is not only Jim's business partner, but he's also reputedly one of Jim and Chrissy's main investors. Real estate projects, Jim has already initiated the process of terminating his business agreement with Freddie, but it's not that, because Freddie looks to have been one of the key sponsors of a multi-million-dollar genuine Jim and Chrissy had an estate deal, because Jim is not just upset, but also, according to insiders, replied when it was revealed that Chrissy was having an affair with his business colleague. Twitter went crazy. Let me share some of the best reactions. Chrissy certainly pulled a Jim on Jim. The irony is that after years of adultery, Chrissy finally got her lick-back poetic justice. Jim Jones's tears over Chrissy infidelity is amusing, especially given that he has been chasing her for 10 years, and Chrissy just gave it. With a bow, and it's a poor B+ ain't TCH, but it wasn't only the fans who were receiving messy celebrities also began to weigh in. As you may well know, one love and hip-hop celebrity wrote a shady comment under a blog post regarding the scandal stated, "See why you don't toy with a woman's." Even Yandy Smith had something to say, and as you know, Yandy and Chrissy have a complex relationship. According to sources, Yandy has previously gone live on Instagram and stated, "Maybe now Jim will understand how it feels to be on the flip side. And if you think Jim took that, then, oh sweetie, you don't heart karma always comes back." Jim apparently I contacted Yandy immediately following that remark. And let's just say that the conversation wasn't amicable. But this is when things go from messy to outright scandalous, because it looks that Maisie has more receipts than the DMs. Yes, you thought the DMs were bad, but the video is worse, honey. A video of Chrissy and Freddie appear together at a private gathering, with Chrissy sitting on Freddie's lap and giggling. According to persons familiar with the topic, it is incredibly comfortable. By together, I do not mean standing next to another. Oh, it's a member of the Love and Hip Hop cast. This wasn't just any leak someone in their group. They purposely taped it and have been storing it for weeks, waiting for the appropriate time to disclose it. According to what I've heard, Moses knows the specific identify of the guy who recorded it, whereas Jim will never be able to. Moving on, if Chrissy hadn't tried to deny the affair, the video might not have even. Chrissy went live on Instagram after the first report surfaced saying, "I don't know why people, when video proof became available, Casey imagined she could gaslight the entire internet." And Jim was enraged when he watched that footage, according to insiders. Jim texted Chrissy right. She went live and said, "Me and Jim are solid. Don't believe the rumors, girl." The worst part is that Chrissy didn't even attempt to dispute it in private. Instead, she answered, "I told you. You've been embarrassing me for years, so you understand how it feels." In other, Chrissy essentially admitted that she was doing this in retribution for Jim's earlier adultery. According to sources, Jim plans to go full nasty, including financially shutting Chrissy out, controls several of their joint business accounts, and he is already working on this, Chrissy, but is not about it. Chrissy is going down without a fight, according to sources, and if Jim tries to cut her off financially, she intends to sue. Yes, you read correctly. She has already sued him for both financial and emotional damages, hired a lawyer. They want to make this issue into a plot. Hip-hop producers are already working. To acquire Chrissy, Jim is considering sitting down and discussing it on TV, but only if Chrissy comes clean on it. If that happens, this will be the most watched episode of Love and Hip-Hop, honey. However, the actual question is whether Jim will forgive Chrissy or if it is the final straw in their relationship, stay tuned because Part 3 will examine the consequences, the legal turmoil, the money war, and the video that may irrevocably kill Jim's career. And I guarantee you that you are not prepared for it, all right? Let's go on to the messy part because this narrative is more than simply an infidelity scandal. It's becoming a public humiliation for Jim Jones, and the internet is dragging. Let's pick up where we left off, with Jim confronting Chrissy. When Jim saw Chrissy standing there with this man whom he thought to be his buddy, he lost it. Jim walked toward the man, and when I tell you that things quickly escalated, darling, it nearly became violent, according to several. They refused to back down, and it nearly ended there in the hallway. Security had to interfere, and physically Jim allegedly yelled, "You're dead to me," at Chrissy remained there with her arms crossed and showed no symptoms of troubling him. This is when things get complicated. The internet exploded with speculation regarding the identity of the mystery man after Jim was carried out of the hotel, and when the truth was exposed, and it was worse than anyone could have imagined. It turns out that the man Chrissy was caught with actually Freddie G. Jim's long-standing business partner and one of his closest pals. Yes, you read it correctly. Freddie has been a part of Jim's inner circle for years. He has been with Jim and Chrissy on family, vacations at the studio with Jim, and even at Jim's house. But here's the thing. Freddie isn't just Jim's business partner. He is claimed to have been a substantial investment in Jim and Chrissy's real estate endeavors. As a result, not only did Chrissy deceive Jim, but she did it with a man who had direct access to their money. Business. This is where things go terribly wrong, since Jim isn't just upset, he's furious. According to insiders, Jim has already initiated the process of severing his business ties with Freddie. However, Freddie, Jim, and Chrissy had been working on a multi-million-dollar real estate transaction, and you were a big investor. Jim might lose everything if he tries to end his relationship with Freddie. Let's discuss how the internet reacted when it was revealed that Chrissy was having an affair with Jim. Business partner Twitter went bananas, and I'll share some of the finest comments with you. Poetic Justice Jim Jones's sobs over Chrissy's infidelity are amusing, knowing that he has been after her for 10 years. Karma is a horrible, and Chrissy just delivered it with a bow. But it's interesting that Chrissy really pulled a jai on Jim. Not only were fans growing unruly, but celebs also began to weigh in on one love and hip-hop star. Already be aware made a suspicious remark under a blog post about the issue that stated, "See, this is why you don't play." With a woman's heart, karma always returns. Yandi Smith also had something to say. Remark, and you are already aware that Yandi and Chrissy have a complicated history. According to sources, Yandi stated on Instagram Live, "Maybe now Jim can understand how it feels to be on the other hand. If you feel Jim took offense, you don't know Jim because Jim apparently contacted Yandi immediately after that remark." To put it plainly, that conversation was not cordial, but this is where things grow from messy to downright scandalous, because Maisie appears to have more receipts. Yes, you thought the DMs were horrible, but according to sources with knowledge of the situation, the video is worse. There's a video of Chrissy with Freddie, and Chrissy can be seen sitting on Freddie's lap giggling and growing fairly comfortable with the individual who is a part of the love and hip-hop ensemble. When I say together, I don't mean standing near to each other. It was not a random leak, but someone in their circle purposely. They taped it and have been holding on to it for weeks, waiting for the proper time to release it. From what Maisie knows exactly who did it. He apparently challenged the individual who did so, informed them that Jim would never recover from it. And here's what if Chrissy hadn't tried to deny the affair through the video? It might not even have leaked yet. Apparently, Chrissy went live on Instagram after the initial report broke. "Why are people constantly in my business?" And adding, "Jim and I are solid, does not believe the rumors." Chrissy genuinely imagined she could gaslight the entire internet is using video proof. That was available, and Jim was outraged. Jim saw it, according to insiders, texted Chrissy immediately after she went live, telling her to quit lying about what she had done, but the toughest part was still ahead. Chrissy reportedly said, "Two informed you that you had been embarrassing me for years later. You understand how it feels without even trying to deny it in private. In other words, Chrissy she acknowledged that she was doing this as response to Jim's prior infidelity, and Jim is now apparently out for blood because rumors say Jim is prepared to go all petty, which includes Jim is financially cutting off. Chrissy has many of their joint businesses. Accounts and Chrissy are not going down without a fight, according to sources. Chrissy has already engaged a lawyer. She intends to sue Jim for emotional damages, hurt and monetary damages if he attempts to cut her off financially. As you read, Chrissy is coming for Jim's bag, and the most weird aspect is that the Love and Hip Hop producers are already trying to get Chrissy and Jim will sit down and discuss on camera. They want to turn this chaos into a plot. Jim is thinking about it. Only if Chrissy confesses on tape. Will this be the most watched episode? Love and Hip Hop is the actual question. Is Jim going to forgive Chrissy? This is the final nail in their coffin. Relationship. Pay attention because in part 3, we are entering the aftermath of the financial war. The legal drama and video that has G's career could be ruined if, and trust me, you're not prepared for what is going to happen next.